Hi guys, I'm happy to be here with another learning video for you. I hope you're enjoying your online learning. This week we want to look carefully at the world of persuasion. I'm sure that you have experienced at one time or another that someone was speaking very strongly about something. Maybe you said, that person had a strong point of view, or his ideas really seemed to push me towards something. You were starting to identify that the person was using persuasion in his speech. It begins early in our life that we start to hear and respond to persuasive speech. Our mother starts to tell us, "Don't touch that plate, it's hot." Later, our parents and others start to give us longer speeches about what to do with our life. The dentist gives you a long speech about sugar, brushing your teeth, and the horrors of having a cavity in your tooth. He uses various techniques in his speaking, such as explaining cause and effect relationships, predicting, describing a terrible situation of tooth decay. All of that is to push you towards a specific kind of action, right? Look at these images and consider the situations. A lawyer is trying to persuade the jury that his client is innocent. The mother is trying to persuade the couple to rent or buy the house. The medical rep is trying to persuade the doctor to prescribe her company's medicine. The man is trying to persuade the woman to stay, to say he's sorry, to forgive him. The job candidate is persuading the interview panel to hire him for the job. Surely you will find yourselves in these kinds of situations in the future. It's good to be aware or familiar and to get some practice listening to persuasion. You all know what persuasion is in your own language. Some of you might have given some very strong and excellent persuasion before. When it comes to English, you may have had some trouble understanding some persuasion you heard, or maybe you had trouble speaking some persuasion in the right way. Let's look at this document from Jennifer Frost online. This was originally made as a document for writing, but I adapted it for speaking. Let's look at some of the parts of persuasive speech that can help you move in the right direction. Okay, I hope you were able to find the document by Jennifer Frost called 10 Important Triggers for Persuasive Speaking. Persuasive speaking can also be referred to as argumentative speaking because it argues a point that the writer is trying to present. You're going to see in a lot of your books and study materials that these two words will come out, persuasive and argumentative. Someone will say, that book was very persuasive. Someone will even say, that movie was very persuasive. It means that it pushed the person towards doing something. And all of our argumentative and persuasive writing and talking pushes us to do things, pushes us to think something, pushes us to have some kind of decision or conclusion. Just going down further in the paragraph here, when you speak using a persuasive style, you want to incite your listener. Do you know this word incite? It just means to cause your listener to respond or to create a topic that prompts a thorough discussion. Good persuasion will cause people to have good discussions. That's a nice connection. Of course, you will say, what's the difference between persuasive writing and persuasive speaking? And there can be some comparisons. Look down there in the middle of the paragraph. Stories are powerful in persuasive speaking and writing, but personal stories generally only appear in journalistic writing. The Winnipeg Free Press, the Globe and Mail, other newspapers, Newsweek, magazine. We have a lot of personal stories. The writer will give a personal story about his life, about his experiences to prove a point. But in academic writing, there should not be personal stories to persuade or prove points. In speaking, persuasive speaking, we are also allowed more decorative techniques like one-word sentences, repeating a word, such as we might say, "It was a big, big problem." We repeat the word big. We can't do that in academic writing, but in speaking, certainly. Naturally, we use more first-person pronoun. That would mean I or we. Low idioms, and all the techniques and statements can be more extreme with exaggeration, less solid proof, and bigger predictions, because everyone knows that spoken words are gone in a moment and open to quick correction from others. That is something that is changing in our modern world because we have a lot more recording of people's speech. Just moving down on the page, there are a variety of triggers that can help you draw your reading audience in and engage them. You saw at the top of the page, there's a big magnet cartoon, and it's good to think about it. When you have good persuasion, you're drawing people in, you're attracting them in a way. I was using the word push, but maybe the best persuasion is actually pulling or drawing someone in to your own point of view so that they might change their mind. Just going down the page a little more, while persuasion depends on argument, it also depends on exhortation. Have you heard this word? Exhortation is the same as encouragement. We encourage someone. If you say to your friend, if he has a big exam, you say, "Don't be afraid. You will pass the exam. I know you can do it. I believe in you." And so we have this working towards an end result which is desirable. So we have several types of triggers. All the way through this document you find some triggers, but I only want to highlight number 1 and number 8, and I'll let you study the rest on your own. Number 1 is really fascinating. We have this word apologia, and this is a very strange traditional word. Now you know the word apology or apologize, but the connected word here, apologia, has a kind of deeper and traditional meaning. The words are all connected. So apologia is a kind of a trick or technique. It's used in public relations situations. If someone writes speeches or gives speeches for a special problem in society, sometimes we have community leaders who use apologia. And what it can mean in a simple way is that someone defends something. He gives a kind of defense for something in the society. So it can be in a straightforward apology or a disclaimer. If we consider one topic in Winnipeg, the problem of illegal boarding room houses has been a topic of discussion. You have some houses for students, especially close to the university, where many students live in that house, but it's not legal for them to live there because the house was not designed and built for that many people to live in it. So there's been a lot of controversy about that, but someone might try to defend the people who have the boarding room houses, or they want to defend the use of boarding room houses. So we have a few techniques here with the examples. These are the techniques of apologia. Differentiation, when the author distinguishes a particular questionable act from more harmful or serious actions. So in the case of the rooming houses, someone says, Don't worry about it. This situation does not hurt or steal from the students. The students even benefit from that. They get very low price on their rent when they're a student. It's very helpful to them. We also have bolstering, the attempt to improve or enhance an individual's image if they are under attack. In this case, someone says, these people are respected community members. They are not criminals. We should not punish them. Transcendence is the next technique. This is when the act is placed in a different context. So this is what the person might say. If these kinds of houses were placed in China or India somewhere, they would be seen as the most beautiful and safe houses in the country. I hope that's not an impolite way to say it, but I'm not saying it now. Someone might say it in that way, and he would be using transcendence. And then we have the last technique of apologia, denial, where the questionable act is rejected. And so the person says, I'm not even sure if this happens. We just see a few stories on TV. Maybe it doesn't really happen very much. It's not something to worry about. Those are some interesting techniques in how we persuade people. Then I'm going to just jump to number 8. So number 8, ask rhetorical questions. This is a very interesting word, rhetorical. Maybe you've seen it before. Also, we have the shorter noun form rhetoric, and I'm glad that the word comes up in this discussion because it's a very traditional word which connects to making persuasive speeches and making persuasive writings. Maybe you know the word. So someone might say, I was listening to a speech on TV, and I think the man was using rhetoric. That can mean he was using some beautiful words to persuade the people. But sometimes it can mean that the words are not really with a lot of facts. They are maybe words that are beautiful, that will push people because they have a lot of feeling or strong techniques like you're learning in the document. But someone might say those ideas are not tested. We haven't checked them. We need to check about the facts that are there or whether there were even any facts given. So we just have a few tricks to notice with this, and with rhetorical we ask questions, and a rhetorical question is a question that doesn't really expect an answer. It only pushes the person to think or maybe to respond with some kind of idea, but it doesn't exactly answer the question in the strict way that we think of questions. So it says, do you really think? That's one technique. Do you really think that's a good idea for our city? Is it really worth it to build that park? Do you want to be a part of such an expensive project? What would happen if this project failed? How could you possibly put so much money into that project? How could your conscience cope with this disaster, with so much money being spent? You can see how that can come out very strongly for people as the question is asked. Questions are always powerful. And when they are done in a way that makes people think of big problems, consequences, or results that affect them emotionally, it can be a very strong technique. Okay, I'll let you read the rest of this document and try to focus on the techniques carefully so that you can notice, you can be more aware, and have a better understanding of how we do persuasive speech. Thanks for listening.